We have pulled in about 100 head of ewes from this pasture. They're due to lamb within the next 3 weeks. So what we're going to do right now is bringing these ewes in, and we're going to work them up at chute. We are going to drench them. We're going to check feet and make sure we don't have any feet that are really bad. We're going to sort them. We're going to udder palpate them. We're going to palpate those ewes, and ewes that we detect that coming up close lambing, we're going to cut them. We can sort them off up here 3 directions. One man, just open the gate and let them go. We got a scale set. We weigh our ewes 4 times a year. Today, prior to lambing, we like to get a weight on the ewe to see how well this pasture did and what it did for her. All right, we'll get a weight, and she will have been drenched. She'll go out there and get cut to the what we'll call immediate pregnancy group or the late pregnancy group. And then the ones that are going to stay, or the ones that are going to go back to the field, are going to walk through a foot bath, 9 gallon of water, gallon of formaldehyde. Because we can do all these things, because everything is set there ready to do these things. We don't have to drench today and foot bath tomorrow and sort next day. We're going to do it all today, and we don't have to do this often. You've got to have a facility. That's the first priority. You've got to have a site selection. We located this barn here mainly for site selection in conjunction with this 2,300 acre operation. We've located it here because of the southeast exposure. As you can see from here, we've got this side open which looks into the southeast. And every morning when the sun comes up, it beams right in there on those baby lambs and on those ewes. We got it located here on the southeast hillside. In back of us there, we've got 120 feet from where this barn sits to the top of that ridge. So when the wind's blowing out of the northwest, we've got a natural advantage of breaking that wind off of that hill, and the wind is actually shooting over top of that barn. And most of the time, we've got it located in kind of the center of our sheep pastures. We've got sheep pastures all round about us. Yeah, let me say a word about the roads into your operation. You've got to have a road in and out. It doesn't have to be a super highway. It has to be a real practical farm road with some gravel on it, so you can turn the equipment around and turn your trucks around. And then speaking of gravel, your lots outside your barn should be well drained. And that costs so little to do it originally. It's to put at least a 1% slope, and I like a 3 better, so that your water can get away. And then we get some stone on our lots. We never get more than an inch, inch and a half of small gravel. And then we can get some grass growing up through our gravel, and we like that. And the size and function of a facility such as this needs to be big enough to handle what you plan to do down the road a piece. And it's difficult to plan very far ahead possibly, so in order that you don't get yourself cornered, locate it again where you can expand. Give yourself some room that you can make it functionable, you can make it practical, so that 2 men can work 500 sheep within a few hours of time, so that 1 man can work a flock of 100 ewes or 150 ewes in a very short time, in an hour's time of period. And the fencing and the arrangement of the pens is the whole key to the success of a sheep operation. We just have got to have good fence construction in around this working pens. It should be native stuff if you have native material in your area. Here we have oak. These boards are 1x3 treated with creosote, and we have our materials that's homegrown, so to speak, and we keep it practical, keep it so it is functional, and keep it so we can really handle them. And then our chutes arrangements, we've looked at many states have great ones, and we think this is one of the great ones. The chute arrangement is so that as you start your sheep in a bigger area, as you keep coming, things get smaller and smaller and smaller, down to where we load out on the truck of 20 inches wide. And we keep these narrow alleyways. The sheep don't turn around, they don't go back, they don't fight you, you don't fight them. And chutes is a very important key, and gates should always follow the sheep. We never open a gate so that the sheep have got to run into it and catch themselves and maybe cause a ewe to abort. If the gate's swinging in behind her, following her into the smaller confinement area, you really got something that'll never go wrong on you. Let me mention one more thing on that set of pins there. I told you we cut native lumber. Those are 4x4 oak posts treated with creosote. They're set on 8-foot centers, and they're in the ground 2.5 feet. They've been in there 12 years. We have not replaced the post. We anticipate they'll last 25, 30 years. But this type of a thing we need to look at and think about in the construction, to use native stuff when we can. This bottom board that you see going around the border of this fence is a 1x10. And we like that because that gives you a good solid 10-inch area where the sheep's not even thinking about getting out of there. Then we go to the 1x3s, as you can see. The scale arrangement is something that I think the sheep farmer has got to have. It's a tool that tells him what's happening. We're talking about producing meat off of grass, and here's a way we can find out how much we produce. Now these ewes are being weighed. We do this 4 times a year, but we can weigh lambs the same way. And we can roll the scales inside the barn and weigh young lambs, and let her go and check another one. Her weight's 130 pounds. And we'll move the scales inside if it be raining, you see, and we can weigh the lambs inside the barn. It's a real practical facility, and it's an economical one. We can adjust the width of that catch pin on the scales to make it narrow so the lambs cannot turn around on the scales. And this ewe is not pregnant, so she comes up the hill, and it just makes a real nice facility where we can split our ewes off as we weigh them. In other words, we don't have to just weigh them and then come back and sort them. We try and do as much as we can at each operation. Here's a ewe weighing in at 135 pounds, and we'll see if she's pregnant. She's pregnant. She'll go down the hill with the other group. That's good. Now we'll just close up her sides. Mama, I'm not ready for you. We'll close up her sides. One little thing I didn't show you here, we've got a little elevation in here that raises, those sheep walk up a small ramp that I'm going to remove. Now the reason for that is the ewes can walk up onto the scales and it doesn't make a big step for them. It's homemade and handy, practical, and it just lifts out of the way. So we're done weighing right now, and we'll just simply lift the little elevation chute out. We have a little rod here that holds the front of that up with a hole bored through the... And now isn't that simple and practical? Now Raymond, you close up your lower side. Now that makes our chute ready to work without the weighing operation. That'll just drop in there, and then Dave will hook up this side. And Raymond, you don't have him go ahead on us. Just hold that U right kind of, yeah. That'll slide right in there. We do this normally 3 times a year, and if a man has foot problems in sheep, it definitely can be controlled. And one of the ways to do it is trim these feet, walk them through the foot bath, and do this thing as your flock needs it. And she's standing in approximately 3 inches of formaldehyde and water, and we like to leave them in there 2 minutes. It will do practically no good to just leave that gate open and let them run through it. It will do no good at all if we make that foot bath too short and the sheep jump clear through the thing. So a good way to do it, I didn't tell you how long it was, it should be at least 12 feet long. That one there's probably a 10-foot box. I wish it was 2 feet longer. You could stand 3 ewes in there at a time, and if you want to get a little ingenuity behind you and make it a little longer, this would be all right. But this is a practical farm foot bath that anybody can build for $10. And if a man's going to be in the sheep business and will not spend $10 for a foot bath and go this formaldehyde water thing we just think maybe he's making a real good mistake by not following this up. Just pour about 4 feet there. That's good. I'll close that side. Just put that, that's fine. On this loading chute, every farmer that handles livestock just got to have a loading chute. It's so simple to build. You can use homemade stuff and not spend a lot of money. We use 4 posts here. These front 2 posts are about 14 feet long, and this is homemade and a handy sort of thing that runs up and down so easily. You can just take one hand. That's adjusted for a pickup truck, and if we have a large truck come in here, why, we just simply go over here and take one hand or a couple of hands and run it up. And one of the big secrets to making it so easy is here's a counterbalance. This is an old piece of casing that's full of scrap metal. Down in there is old pieces of bolt heads and old pieces of scrap iron, and the cable going up with the 2 pulleys at the top, which gives us a counterbalance arrangement. And it's so practical, and it'll fit any size truck, and it does not take an awful lot of beating this away. And you can see too, when a truck backs into this machine or into this arrangement, we have a pipe hanging here, or if we want to adjust it so we make sure it goes down no lower, we have a couple of gate hinges here, and that pipe slides in there, and then this. Now, it cannot go down any farther because it's blocked there. And back here we have a couple of old truck springs that give us some balance. So it's most loading chutes, when you hit them with a truck, we tear up the back of the truck so bad, and when this truck comes in, if he hits that, we've got about 8 inches of give and take here that takes the pressure off of tearing it up. And you want to be sure and have your cleats built in your loading chute to stop all this slipping and falling down and straining of animals. Inside the loading chute are 1x1 cleats set on 10-inch centers all up that loading chute. So when those animals come up, their feet do not slide out from under them. They have something to get hold of and walk up to where they get on the truck. So again, it's a practical chute. And one other thing I should mention that we have found in loading livestock of any kind, and especially sheep, is to put a slight curve in the chute, a small angle, 45-degree angle, and let the sheep come in and make a little curve rather than go straight into a truck, because the farther and the more excitement they can see ahead, the more tendency they have to stay back. So we like to put a curve into it, and you'll notice this one has a small curve where they can start up, then they don't see the big truck in front of them, so they make a little curve, and it gives them a little more chance to work their way up into the truck and ready to pull out. If you like sheep, and I like them, it's fun to work them, and it's twice as much fun if you got a facility.